Hello, everyone. Thank you again for joining the Quizzitive Unite sessions. Today's session is going to be tips and tricks in Business Central. Just a few reminders, housekeeping things here. First off, please ask questions. The event's for you. You can put the questions in your chat panel. These sessions are being recorded, so the sessions will be available after the event for those that have joined in. And the big one, as always, is that we are giving away some prizes, so please stay around. Winners will be announced at the end of the day. So good luck. For today's session, we have myself. I'm Dave Penny. I'm a senior consultant here at Quizzitive. I've been here with the company for over 9 years now. I also have my colleague Stacy Kahn, who's an associate consultant, and she's been with Quizzitive for over 3 years. We will be splitting the session today, and I'm going to pass this over to Stacy for her to begin. Over to you, Stacy.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Let me share my screen. So hopefully you guys are seeing my slide.
We're good.
So today I'm excited to kick things off by sharing some valuable tips and tricks with you. So I'd like to begin with bookmarks. Sometimes, we search for tasks or reports in Business Central that we want to remember or reference later or, just access more quickly. So you can do this by bookmarking them. This is done by simply clicking on the ribbon icon or toggle to the right of your search or tell me what you want to do results. And if you no longer need the bookmark, you can easily turn it off. So when you bookmark a task or a list or a report, the bookmarks are added to the list area of your role center or on your homepage, and they can be accessed at any time with a simple click. So let's dive into Business Central to see how the bookmarking works. So let's say, every month you need to adjust like your customers or vendors and your bank accounts for, exchange rates changes. So instead of having to search, your adjust exchange rates, instead of having to search the task each month, what you can do is simply bookmark it by clicking on the bookmark toggle to the right of your search results. And you can access now the adjust exchange rate link by a single click. So now you would notice that the adjust exchange rates is now added to your, it's added to your list area on your rule center. The same goes for your age reports. So since you run these reports frequently, bookmarking them allows you, again, to simply access them with just one click. So you can search your age, let's say your age payables report, and you can bookmark that report, and it now displays in the list area. The next great tip is editing descriptions on posted documents. Have you ever posted a purchase invoice and realized that you forgot to include some important vendor details? Or perhaps you've entered a general journal and you wanted to add extra details for future reference. You can do that in Business Central. So, like, let's say on a posted purchase or sales invoice, under the process menu, you have the option to update the document. You can modify certain fields, including your posting description, your payment reference, and your payment method codes. You can also edit descriptions in the general ledger entries by simply clicking on Edit List. And then you can modify the description to whatever you want it to be or whatever change has to be made. I would like to emphasize, though, the importance of exercising caution before modifying any posted descriptions. Ensure that any changes made are corrective in nature and have been approved beforehand. So let's explore how edit posted document transactions work in Business Central. So let's say you entered a purchase invoice for a hotel stay, and you forgot to include the dates the guest stayed at the hotel. So I'm going into posted purchase invoices, and I have a posted purchase invoice here for the Marriott Hotel. But I forgot to include the dates that the guests stayed at the hotel. So what I would do is go to the home and then click on update document. And then under the posted description, you would notice there's only accommodation for 2 days. So I can insert the days that the guest stayed. So let's say I put in the 15th to 17th May 2024. Well, it'll be 16 because it's 2 days. And I hit OK. You also have the option to update the payment method as well. So you can do it in the same way by clicking on Home, Update Documents, and let's say the vendor is going to be paid via EFT and not via check. So you can change the payment method by clicking on the down arrow, and you can change the payment method from check to EFT. When you do that, you click OK when it's completed. You can also modify general ledger descriptions by hitting the edit list on your general ledger entries window. So what you can do is search for your general ledger entries. And then let's say you entered a journal and I used this in the example where I entered a cost for a particular mobile or phone cost, but I entered the incorrect phone number. So this is the journal here. So this is an accrual for this mobile, but I entered the incorrect number. Let's say its number is supposed to end in 4. So what I can do is hit the edit list, and then I could go into the description and modify the phone number. So let's say it's supposed to be 5554. I can change the description to 5554. And there you would notice that the general ledger description or the general journal has been updated. Like I mentioned previously, I would like to emphasize the importance of exercising caution before modifying any posted descriptions. So continuing along with the tips and tricks, statistical accounts. Do you ever need to allocate costs using non-monetary data? This is where statistical accounts come into play. So statistical accounts, it allows you to track statistics outside of the general ledger without posting them to the general ledger. So examples of statistical accounts include like square footage, number of employees, number of customers, that sort of thing. So to use statistical accounts, obviously first you have to create it. And then you have to create an allocation to utilize the statistical account. And then when you are ready to record the cost, you select the allocation that is configured with the statistical account to distribute that cost. So let's dive into Business Central and see how statistical accounts work. So first, we create the statistical account. So I would type in statistical accounts, and then you would notice here that I already have 2 statistical accounts created. So if you want to create a new statistical account, you just click on the plus new, and then you fill in the number and the name. Then you would fill in the metrics for the statistical account. So in this case, I used square footage. So I assigned 600 as in the square footage to the sales department, 800 to the production, and 500 to the admin. One thing I would like to point out is that on the posting date, pay attention to the posting date, as The statistical journal only allows you to allocate cost on transactions that are dated on or after the date that is used on your statistical account journal entry. So to enter transaction, as in to enter the amount, you would hit the statistical accounts journal. And here you would put in the posting date, like I mentioned. Any cost that you want to allocate has to be on or after this date. And then you would put in the document number if you have any document referencing, okay, where the square footage came from, that sort of thing. The statistical account, you would select the square footage because that's the name of the account, the statistical account you created. The description, and then the amount would be the non-monetary amount. The next step is to create an allocation. So to create an allocation, what you would do is search allocations, and then you would select the allocation accounts. So here I already created one for electricity. So what this means is that I want to use square footage to allocate my electricity cost. So when you create your allocation account, like the statistical account, you hit the plus new to create a new allocation account. I gave it a name, and the account type here must be variable because we used a variable amount for the square footage. The destination account number is where you would fill in the GL account you want the cost to be allocated to. And under the breakdown type, you select statistical account, and then you select the applicable statistical account that was created. So after you have set up the statistical account and the allocation account, it's now time to allocate cost. So let's say you get your electricity bill from the electrical company. You would proceed to enter that invoice, using purchase invoices. So what you would do is click on plus new to enter that invoice, and then you would select the applicable vendor. You fill in the dates and the vendor information. So I'm just going to put in a vendor invoice number. So what is key here is under type, you have to select the allocation account. When you select the allocation account under the number field, you would see where you created the applicable allocation. So in this case, it's electricity. So let's say for this example, I'm going to put the amount as $1,000. So now it's going to allocate that cost, that electricity cost, using the square footage that was entered into the statistical account. So if I do a preview posting of the transaction, sorry, you would notice that the 1,000 is now being split using the square footage into the various departments. So for 2105 would go to production and so on. So this is how you can use statistical accounts to allocate costs in Business Central. The pop-out window. Have you ever wanted to open multiple windows in Business Central instead of constantly clicking the back button? You can achieve this using the pop-out window or the open this page in a new window button. This feature, it allows you to open a page in a separate window, enabling you to navigate to any other page, screen, or report in Business Central while keeping the original window open. So let's see how this works in Business Central. So let's say you have a posted purchase invoice. You're looking at a particular invoice. So I'm just going to go into my posted purchase invoices, and I'm just going to select a particular invoice. So I'm looking at this Graphic Design Institute invoice. And the vendor, let's say they're on the phone or you're on a call with them and they inquire about the most recent payment you have received. So instead of you navigating back, from this window or from the screen, you can pop out the current window. So you would notice that the window opens into a new window. Let's give it a minute. Okay. And then you can just shift the window and then you can continue working in Business Central. As in now, you can go to the particular vendor. So let's go to the Graphic Institute and then look at the vendor ledger entries. And you can see the last payment that was made on the vendor's account while still having the particular window open. So instead of navigating back, you can pop out the current window, leave it open, and then access other windows or any other windows that you like. So in this way, you can work on any window, any other windows, I should say, while keeping this purchase invoice window open. Another useful tip in Business Central that many people, are not or might not be aware of is the built-in calculator that is available in many fields. So for example, if I need to increase an amount by 2%, when entering a transaction, I can simply enter the value, multiply it by 1.02, and Business Central will perform the calculation directly in the field. This functionality is convenient as it eliminates the need for an external calculator or Excel spreadsheet. And I find it particularly helpful for entering prorated amounts where you can input the value multiplied by the prorated fraction, such as 7 over 12 months. So let's explore how the calculator works in Business Central. So let's look at a sales order. So if I click on sales orders, and I open a sales order, I can enter into the unit price field an amount, the same amount I explained previously, and I want to inflate it or increase it by 2%. So let's say I use the amount of $25. I can just multiply it by 1.02. And then what it does, it calculates the amount, or Business Central calculates the amount in the particular field. You can also do the same thing for general journals. So let's open a general journal batch. I'm just going to use this monthly batch here. So let's say I want to do an accrual or enter an office supplies expense. So what I can do is put a formula in, like to add, let's say, various lines on an invoice or various amounts to be added together. So I can put in like 100 plus 200 plus 325, and the system does the calculation or the addition for you. Continuing with the tips and tricks, the next excellent tip in Business Central is the ability to post only filtered entries that are visible to you. So let's say you have an accrual batch set up at the end of a month to accrue costs that you have incurred, but you have not yet been invoiced for. You can filter the batch to only display those costs for which you have not been invoiced. Or if certain accruals are not needed for that month, you can adjust the filter to show only the relevant costs or accruals, and you can only post, or you can post just those entries. So to do this, you would click on the filter icon. So you'd notice that's the funnel icon on the top right of your screen. The filter pane opens on the left of your screen. This is your filter pane here. And then you can filter the entries by amount or description or any other criteria that works for you. And once the desired transactions are displayed, you can click post to finalize the entries. And then Business Central will only post those filtered transactions. So let's explore how this feature works in Business Central. So I have an accruals batch. So I'm just going to open that batch. So you would notice in the accruals batch, there are various, cost accruals set up, in case I don't get the invoice, or if I don't get invoiced for that particular cost, I can choose which cost I want to accrue at the end of the month. So looking at the list, let's say we receive the invoices for the consulting fees, the electricity, and the landline. So I only want to accrue the transaction for the audit fee. So what I will do is click on the filter icon, and then I'm going to filter on the description field. So what I would do is click on the filter and then select the description field. And then I'm going to type in audit. So you would notice now that only the audit fee accrual shows on your screen. So I'm going to post this transaction only. So what I will do is hit the post button and hit yes. So it's okay, it's out of balance. So I'm missing my balance in account here. So I'm just going to put in the accrual entry. And then I'm going to post. So you would notice now that only the audit transaction or the audit fee accrual was was posted from your list of accruals or from your list of general journals. So that's where the filter function comes into play, where only transactions that are displayed, or that are filtered can be posted. So continuing again with the tips and tricks, as you know, Business Central offers a robust search and filter functionality that enables you to apply filters on all list pages, including your general ledger and your chart of accounts. And even better, it includes powerful filter characters that enhance your filtering efficiency. So the first filter character is the @ symbol. If you use the @ symbol in your filter, followed by, in this example, ACC, the system will filter for text that matches ACC. The character filter is not case sensitive, so the filter will include text with ACC in both uppercase and lowercase. Then there's the asterisk. If you put an asterisk to the start and end of, in this example, CO, the system will look for text that contains CO. However, this character filter is case sensitive, so you have to input the exact text. Next is the pipe symbol. This allows you to look for, let's say, account numbers, for example, that are not in sequence or in a range or in an interval. So if you put the pipe symbol and the first number, account number you're looking for, and the last or second or however much account numbers you are looking for, and it's separated by a pipe, the search results will include all of these account numbers. Then there's the .. symbol that allows you to search, for example, account numbers within an interval. You would enter the first account number in the interval, then you would use the .. or enter the .. and then the last number in the interval you are looking for. So let's see this in play in Business Central. So let's look at the general ledger entries. So if I want to see any deferrals, let's say I did a 3-month deferral during the year, what I can do is click on the filter icon, and then I'm going to filter by the description. And I'm going to use the @ symbol, and I'm going to put 3 months deferral. And you would notice that using this @ symbol, it would bring up into the filter or into the search all of the transactions that has the tax or contains the tax 3 months deferral. Let's look at how the asterisk works. So I'm looking at the chart of accounts here, and let's say I want to see all of my GL accounts that are variance accounts. So if you want to analyze your variance accounts. So what I would do is put a filter on the name field. So I can filter the list by the name. And then I would put into the asterisk variance. So you would notice that the search results now includes all text that includes the word variance. I would like to point out, though, that the use of the asterisk, it is case sensitive, so you must enter like the variance exactly how it is entered in the wherever you're searching the information from. In terms of the pipe symbol, if you want to, let's say, look at what your electricity or phone GL balances are. So what you can do is enter the GL account number. So you can put like 65,200 if you know the GL account number offhand, followed by the pipe symbol. And then, actually, no, I will be doing the search on the account number. Sorry, so I'll put the filter on the account number, and then I would enter 65,200. The pipe symbol, and then 65,700. So now the search results will display, or the data would now be filtered to show you the electricity and the phone account. And then finally, there's the dot symbol that allows you to search for records or accounts within an interval or within a certain range. So let's say I want to see my GL accounts between the account range 25,000 and 29,000. So I would put in 25,000 and then put the ending number in the range, 29,000. So here it shows you all of the accounts. Well, we use account number in this example within the account range. So in addition to search features or filters, I should say, there are also keyboard shortcuts that can be used in Business Central to improve productivity. So some of these shortcuts include the F8 key. So the F8 key allows you to copy from the cell above. The F6 key that allows you to quickly move from one fast tab to another. Enter enables you to move move to the next quick entry field. And if you hold Shift and Enter at the same time, it enables you to move to the previous quick entry field. The arrow keys on your keyboard as well. It also allows you to move to the next or to the previous quick entry fields. Another keyboard shortcut is the Control and Home. It allows you to move to the top of a list, and the Control End allows you to move to the end of a list. So let's see these shortcuts come into play, or how they work in Business Central. So let's say we have the F8, right? I'm going to show that functionality. So I created a journal batch, let's say for accruals. So I have this accrual by department. So let's say I want to accrue this mobile cost for another department. What I would do is come on the other line. And then if I want to copy the data from the cell above, I just hit the F8 key. And then if I want to copy the data from the description above, I hit F8. If I want to copy the amount, I would hit the F8. So what it does is that it copies the data from the cell above. The F6 key, so let's say you want to enter a new sales invoice. So I would hit the new button. And then you would see under the general tab, I'm going to select the applicable customer. So let's select Roller Cloud. And then if I want to quickly move from the general fast tab to the lines fast tab, if I hit the F6 button, you notice that it moved from this general fast tab to the lines fast tab. And if I scroll down and hit the F6 key, it moves into the currency code, which is part of the invoice details fast tab. In terms of the enter key, so if we go back to the journal, we'll go back to the same accruals journal. If I hit the enter key, what it does is that it moves to the next quick entry field in your general journal window. And if you want to move to the previous quick entry field, what you would do is hold the shift and enter, and then it moves to the previous field. Your arrow keys as well does the same thing, the right arrow key and then the left arrow key for the previous, right for next and left for previous, and up and down. And then if you want to go to the top of a list and the end of a list, so let's say open your chart of accounts. Let me just take this filter off. So let's say I want to go to the top of my list, as in the top of my chart of accounts. I would press Control Home. And it moved to the top of my chart of accounts, as in it would show you the first account in your list. And then if you want to see the last account, or if you want to move to the end of the list, you would select the Control and End. So I pressed the Control and End, and it took me to the last account. So the same applies to any list pages. So if you go to your items list page, the same applies. If I want to move to the end of the list, I would press Control End. And if I want to move to the start of the list page or the top of the list page, I would press Control Home. And that's it for me. I will now pass it over to my colleague Dave to continue with the tips and tricks in Business Central.
Thank you so much, Stacy, for all that. Continuing on with the tips and tricks here. 1 second here. Okay, so the next one on our list here is personalizing list pages. This is one of my favorites, quite powerful, and I could spend a whole day on this, but we'll try to do it justice here in just a few minutes. So basically, Business Central allows individual users to personalize their experience within the application. Users have the capability to add or remove the fields that are required, change the order so that all relevant information is displayed. Personalization is specific to the user and does not impact other users. However, we do have the ability to do designer changes, which if you want personalizations to impact all users, and so instead of getting 20 people to do the same thing, we have the ability to push that out to all users. So let's kick over into Business Central and just take a quick look at some of this personalization here. Okay, so we can come in here. So the personalization basically happens on any form, list page, document screen, and so on. You come up here, click on the icon, you click personalize. So I'm in the customer list page here. You'll see that there's a bar that opens up with personalization, customers, that's the table that I'm in, and you'll see the clear and done. If I click on the field here, it's going to give me a list of fields. So you can also search here, and I could come in here and I could say, look, I want to see the credit limit. So you just click and hold, and you can drag that over here. And when you release it, you'll see that the credit limit applies. You do see these red arrows up here. So you could come in here and I could say, I don't want this field. I want to hide it. Or like the customer posting group as an example would be a better one. I'm going to hide that. I remove it from my list. Why would you want to do that? Because you want to increase the real estate that's on your screen. You can also take these fields here and I can click and hold and I can drag them over and rearrange them on my screen. When you're done the personalization, just hit done, and now that personalization is done. One of the other things here too, if we get into, let's open up a sales order as an example. I'm just going to open up any sales order. And when I come into the sales orders here, typically what you have is you've got a header section and you got a line section, and then you've got multiple header sections as well. So one of the things, again, if I come into personalization here, again, it's going to open up the bar and I'm going to have the field. When I click on the field, it's going to show me a few fields. Now, this is one thing that people miss a lot. This is opening up header fields. If I click in the line section where I get this red box and I just click anywhere in that, now I'm going to see all the fields that can be dragged into the line section. Within Business Central, you've got header tables and line tables. So there's different fields in each one. And so I can click and drag any of these fields here. I can also reorder. You can also exclude from quick entry. So as Stacy just pointed out earlier there, when you're entering through, you can change how the enter key and your tab keys work on these screens. One of the other things too that you can also do in some of these fields here is you've got this show under more, show when collapse. So one of the things here is when you come in, you can see all these fields, but then you're also in a reduced view. So you can control which fields you want to see just by coming in here and say show when collapsed, and that will always be there in your shortlist. You also can take these fields. You can take some header fields. So you could take like the location field here, and you can click and you can drag that field up into the header section up here if you wanted to. So you can rearrange these fields in addition to just adding fields and so on. Okay. Okay. So coming back here, we come into our next one here, analysis mode on list pages. So this is a brand new feature that has just recently been rolled out from Microsoft. I believe it came out in the October release. It's constantly growing, but there's a lot of stuff that you can do here. So the analysis mode basically appears on just about any list page within Business Central. And you can also create multiple analysis views and save them. It allows you to drill down to the source data. And within the analysis mode, you also have a pivot mode that's available. So let's just take a quick look in Business Central here at what that means. Okay. So first things here, if I come back to Business Central, and let's say I come into my customer ledger entries. Okay. So I've got the list page for customer ledger entries, and there's going to be hundreds or thousands of transactions. Very, very difficult to do any work. Typically, clients previously would have had to do some filters, export it to Excel, run some pivot tables. You now have a button here for analysis mode, and when you click it, it's going to turn that list page into an analysis view. So I've built an analysis view here. So I mean, again, it's sort of like a pivot table. So, but the analysis here is slightly different in that I've got my rows are by customer here, and then I got my posting date. So I can come in here and I can basically say this customer here, and this is what I've been spending per year on the customer, and I can open up, and it allows me to actually drill into the particular transaction. Okay. I can also build another analysis mode. So here I got sales by period as an example. So I can come in here and look per year what I have, and I can look in 2020 here, and I can see what the transactions were, and I can break it down by customer and so on until I get down into the transactions, and I can do some drill down. So, which is all nice. You can come in here, click on the arrows. You can rename the tabs. You can duplicate the tabs. So if you've got one built, you can rename it. You can arrange it and delete them and so on. So I have this sales by customer. I duplicated that, and this one here, I put it into pivot mode. So you have a pivot mode by just turning that toggle on, changes the view. It's the same filter and so on, but now it's a pivot table. The only downside with this one here is that it's a little limited and it doesn't do the drill down like the analysis view does, but it will do your standard pivot table that you see in Business Central or in Excel. Okay. All right. So let's come back and look at some other tips and tricks here. So we have renaming of master records. Okay, so this one here, basically what will happen here is on your master tables and so on, you have the ability to come in and change your like your customer number, your item number. Let's say that you got a customer number and you need to change it for whatever reason, or a chart of account. Prime example, you need to renumber an account number. You can do that by doing a rename on it. Now, what it'll do is it'll change that code, and it'll also go back through all the history and change all the transactional history to the new code. So it'll be like you had implemented it with the new code on day one. Okay. Let's go take a quick look in Business Central. So again, anywhere, so it could be on a customer record, and I've got a customer record that's open up here. So typically this function is available anywhere as a code or a number field within the system. And if I came in here and I said, okay, I want to change it to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as an example. When I tab through that, it's going to give me a message, and it's going to say your change might update related records, which can take a while. Do you want to continue? Please pay attention to this message, because this is renaming that record, is going through all the history. And while that rename is going on, it is going to lock tables, and users are going to be kicked out of the system for a little while. Some of these renames will take a few seconds. I've seen some renames take 2 hours. Okay, so it depends on what you're renaming and the data. Typically, what I see a lot of is clients call and say, "Hey, someone deleted my customer. Someone deleted my warehouse. Someone, deleted an inventory item." Chances are somebody accidentally renamed it. Okay, so typically what we end up doing there is we go back and we do the rename to put it back to the way it should be. All right, but this is a nice feature that you can use throughout the system if you've been on the system for a while and you need to change some things. Okay, all right, continue on with the tips and tricks here. Combining primary records. So here's another tip here that is valuable. So again, if I come into my customer card here, this applies to both customers and vendors. Basically, I can come in here and I can take 2 customers and I can merge them together. So if I find that I've got a duplicate customer or duplicate vendor, you have the ability to come in to the system and combine the 2 of them into a single record. So you would say, which one is going to remain, which one are you merging with, and that one's going to disappear. And then you can also control the fields, the field values that will be, so if the fields are different between the 2, which value do you accept? Once you've done this, it cannot be reversed. Okay, so just be careful of that. And again, for doing something like this, I would do it after hours, because again, it will lock tables and it could take a while depending on the customer or vendor history. Okay, all right, so continuing on. Another tip, Another tip here, multiple browser tabs. So Stacy showed you the pop-out windows. However, there's also another option. As you know, in Business Central, there's more than one way of doing something. So within Business Central, because it is internet-based, you can open up another browser, another session of Business Central, and you can use that to do whatever you need to do. Now, my recommendation is, if you're using multiple browsers, is to use it only when you're doing investigations, analysis, and so on. I typically don't recommend using it when you're doing transactions, because you've got 2 sessions open and things can get a little, the screens, the way they refresh and so on, you might get a little bit lost on where you're at. So if you're doing bulk transactions or things like that, I would typically only have the 1 session open. So if we go back to Business Central here, again, I can, I've got my tab here. All I do is on my browser, right click on my browser and I say duplicate tab, and it's going to create another session of Business Central. And I mean, the other benefit here too is I could break this out and then I could put this onto a second screen and so on. So I could have, if I'm fortunate enough to have multiple screens on my desk, I can drag this over into another screen. Now I can have them side by side and I can be doing my analysis views and whatever I need to do. Okay. All right, next we kick in here. We've got multiple email accounts. So this is one nice feature here as well. Typically when Business Central came out, there was just a single email account. But what you can do now is you can actually set up multiple email accounts in the system, and you can define which documents are controlled by those email accounts. So typically your sales department would have an email account. Your procurement department would have an email account. Finance might have its own email account. So you can define which documents are controlled by those respective emails. So if we take a quick look in the system here, we'll come back, we'll search for our email accounts. Sorry. Email accounts. There we go. And if you come into the navigation, you can see the email scenarios. So you can come in here and all of these particular documents within the system can be assigned to a particular email account. So as you can see in my receivables, all my sales documents are being controlled by my receivables email. Meanwhile, the purchase order is being controlled by my procurement email. Now, one of the other things too that you can do is you can also do email scenarios, and I can attach documents to those emails. So one of the ones that we see all the time is we have terms and conditions that have to go out on all of our purchase orders. You can create a terms and conditions document, you attach it here, and you say it goes out on every purchase order. Okay. All right, so one of the other features that we have here within Business Central is the Outlook integration, where within Business Central you can do an add-on for Outlook. And what this add-on is going to do is it's going to allow you to, it's going to integrate Business Central within your Outlook. When you have an email in Outlook open on your screen, it's going to read the email address and it's going to reach out to Business Central and it's going to find the customer or vendor that is associated with that particular email account, and it's going to pull up all of the Business Central data related to that. You can also you can initiate transactions right from Outlook without having to go to Business Central. Now, let's go take a look at Business Central and let's take a quick look at that. So here I have an email. Up here, you'll see I've installed the add-on as a Business Central. When you do the drop down, you will see that there's a Contact Insights connector. When I click on that, it's going to open up, it's going to read the email address, and it's going to show me that, oh, okay, I have a customer here. It's called DP Retail Company. I can see the balances and so on. I have all the information here on any sales orders, anything like that related to this particular customer. I can see some statistics, payments, overdue amounts, anything like that that I need to do. At the same time, I could also come in here and I can create, let's say I wanted to create a new sales order. So I would click on the sales order. It's going to read the email. It's going to read the body of the email, and it comes up and it says, okay, well, I think you're trying to order an office mini fridge. And I say, yeah, we are. And you can say, okay, and it's going to go and it's going to start creating a sales order. Now, I mean, you can pop this out in the screen. Oh, sorry. Say no. You can pop it out and do the work, whatever. But while I'm doing this, this is happening live in Business Central. Okay. And I'm doing all this without leaving Outlook. So this is a nice tool here, the integration. If you want to leave this open all the time, you can pin it, and therefore every email that I click on, it's going to read the Business Central contacts. Okay. All right. So continuing on with our tips and tricks here. Let's take a quick look here. So the last one that we have for today is the Business Central mobile app. So you can go to so if you have an iPhone, you can go to the Apple iStore. If you got an Android, go to the Android App Store, and you will find an app for Business Central. You can download that onto your phone or your tablet, and what that will do is basically give you Business Central on that particular device. No different than I'm doing it right now on my computer. It does have full security login, dual authentication, all the security is there. But what it means is you can be doing that from your phone instead of getting your laptop and finding an internet connection and so on. So you can use that anywhere that you go. Okay. And that brings us to the end of our tips and tricks. So here at Quisitive, we're here to help. You can ask us about completing support for Business Central, any of our Dynamics managed services, and so on. If you want to get in touch with us, just send an email to askquisitive.com, and one of our team members will be happy to get back to you. And if you have any questions, please send in your questions. And again, thank you for attending today's session.